The U.S. Army says there is no health risk from depleted uranium to those who work on or live near the Pohakuloa training area on the Big Island.
The results of the study were released today, but they're not sitting well with those who say the Army is not telling the whole truth. KITV4's Jill Koromoto here with more on the story. Jill.
Well, depleted uranium is radioactive material that was used in weapons during training at Pohakuloa back in the 60s. Exposure to high levels of it can be toxic, but the Army announced today there's no reason to be alarmed.
The U.S. Army today allowed the media a first-hand look at the area where depleted uranium is believed to have been used at Pohakuloa during weapons training between 1962 and 1965. Nearly 2 years ago, the Army took samples of the soil and today released the results of their analysis. They found the radiological risk at Pohakuloa was well below the Environmental Protection Agency's acceptable risk of 1 in 10,000.
They are orders of magnitude well below what the EPA and NRC considers to be a risk to either humans or the environment.
Because the Davy Crockett weapon system was classified at the time, much of the research had to be done by digging through records. The Army said it determined the majority of the 714 rounds containing radioactive waste were likely fired at Schofield Barracks on Oahu, not the Big Island.
We really could not find any hotspots of DU, which means there weren't large clumps or targeting of DU. So that tells us, that's probably not a lot was fired up here.
But a small group of peace activists who had gathered outside of the training facility were concerned the Army is not telling the whole story.
So there's two very strong lines of evidence that there were 2,000 spotting rounds. The Army only found fragments from maybe 4, and they don't seem real worried about where the other 2,000 are.
Activists were also calling for the Army to stop its live fire training for fear of stirring up dust that puts depleted uranium into the air.
Now, the Army said it's still studying dust samples taken based on those concerns, but so far they're not finding any health hazards in those samples either. The Army also said it's working on cleaning up any depleted uranium residue in the training facility. Laura.